The day Angela Rivers decided that Carla Whitfield didn't belong in business class turned out to be the most significant misstep of her career. Masking her disdain behind a practiced grin, the flight attendant orchestrated a series of subtle dismissals that escalated from a forgotten drink to ultimately relocating the elderly woman to the less desirable section of the plane. What Angela couldn't have anticipated, though, was that Carla's quiet phone call would change the course of her fate. Discrimination is often disguised under the guise of politeness, wrapped in routine procedures and justifications, something the team at Everyday Life Stories understood well from their many submissions. As Carla sat in the new seat she'd been assigned, she showed no outward sign of the anger that might have been expected. Instead, her serene patience revealed someone who had dealt with this type of situation many times before, someone who knew that justice sometimes arrives on its own terms. In just 2 hours, the plane would land, and waiting at the terminal gate would be a man whose influence could move mountains in the aviation industry. Carla's son, Richard Whitfield, the airline CEO. The airport terminal hummed with movement as Carla Whitfield walked toward the gate. At 80, she carried herself with the elegance of someone who had earned respect in every space she entered. Her silver hair, neatly curled, framed a face full of wisdom, while her smart white blouse and well-tailored trousers spoke of a woman who paid attention to every detail. A necklace of delicate pearls, a memento from her late husband, caught the light as she moved. When Carla reached the entrance to business class, Angela Rivers stood ready. The flight attendant's warm greeting to a nearby elderly white passenger was replaced with a momentary shift in demeanor when her eyes fell on Carla's boarding pass. "Are you sure this is where you're supposed to be?" Angela asked, her voice pretending to be polite but betraying a clear judgment. Carla met her eyes unflinchingly. "I'm exactly where I should be," Carla responded calmly. Angela's skepticism was clear, though she went through the motions of confirming Carla's ticket, her nod stiff and reluctant. "All right. Well, have a nice flight," she muttered. Once Carla settled into business class, she observed how Angela moved seamlessly through the cabin, offering champagne before anyone had a chance to ask, engaging in pleasant conversation with the other passengers. But 20 minutes passed, and Carla's order was still missing. Eventually, Angela returned. "Would you like something to drink?" she asked, as if Carla hadn't already requested a drink earlier. "Yes," Carla replied evenly. "The champagne I ordered earlier." Angela blinked, taken aback by the directness. "I must have forgotten," she muttered. When the champagne finally arrived, it wasn't as cold as the others, a tiny yet deliberate gesture. Carla took a slow sip, unfazed. She had learned long ago that sometimes the most powerful response to such slights was silence, to show strength in the face of attempts to diminish her. The meal service came next, offering Angela yet another chance for passive aggression. As she took the orders, her tone carried an unnecessary assumption. "The roasted chicken is available," Angela suggested after Carla ordered the steak. "I've noticed that certain guests really enjoy the chicken. I'd hate for you to miss out." The implication hung in the air between them, thick with unspoken assumptions. "I'm happy with the steak," Carla replied, voice smooth. "Unless, of course, the steak is unavailable to me." When the meal finally arrived, it bore all the marks of carelessness. A thinner cut of steak, cooked unevenly, served with wilted vegetables and a sauce that had congealed into an unappetizing mess. Rather than let it slide, Carla addressed the issue directly. "This doesn't look quite like the steak others are receiving," she said, keeping her tone even. Angela's response was swift and dismissive. "It's the same steak everyone else has." "Interesting," Carla responded, "because the gentleman seated 2 rows ahead of me received the same order, but his steak is thicker, cooked properly, and accompanied by fresh vegetables." Angela tried to steer Carla into a substitution, but Carla remained firm. "I didn't ask for a substitution. I asked for the meal I ordered, serve as it was for every other passenger in business class." Angela returned later, this time with a performance, speaking just loudly enough for nearby passengers to overhear. "I'm very sorry for the inconvenience, Miss Whitfield," Angela apologized, though her voice was laced with condescension. "We do our best to accommodate everyone. but meal options are limited after service starts. Then, her voice dropped to a whisper, audible only to Carla. You might feel more comfortable in the back of the plane, where you belong. Carla didn't flinch. Instead, she calmly reached for her phone and dialed. When her son picked up, her voice was calm and composed. Hello, darling. I'm on my flight now, and I'm having an interesting experience with one of your flight attendants. Richard immediately sensed the seriousness in his mother's tone. What happened? Oh, it's subtle, Carla replied, her voice even. A few service delays, assumptions about my order, and a meal that wasn't prepared properly. And now, just moments ago, I was told I might be more comfortable in a different part of the plane. Richard took a deep breath, his voice calm, yet purposeful. Who's the flight attendant? She'll introduce herself soon enough. What do you want me to do? I want to play along, Carla said. Let's see how far she thinks she can go. But when we land, I want a full report. Disciplinary action for the crew, the union rep notified, and a formal statement prepared. Richard's response was assured. I'll take care of it as soon as we land. The final escalation came when Angela approached Carla once more. Miss Whitfield, Angela said, there's been a mistake with your seating. You were mistakenly placed in business class. Your correct seat is in economy. Several passengers turned, sensing the tension. Carla remained calm. I checked in with this seat, she replied, and received my boarding pass. Where's the mistake? Angela's expression hardened. Please cooperate and avoid causing a scene. Carla gathered her belongings, following Angela to economy, knowing the reckoning would come later. Once settled, Carla called Richard. It's just as we thought. She wasn't going to stop until I was out of that seat. As the plane began its descent, Angela remained unaware of what awaited her. Carla's son, Richard Whitfield, the CEO of the airline, was waiting at the gate. When Carla exited, Richard, in a sharp suit, greeted her warmly. Angela, seeing him beside Carla, froze. Richard extended his hand. Richard Whitfield, he said, CEO of this airline. Angela's confidence faltered. Your behavior today was unacceptable, Richard said evenly. You were meant to treat all passengers with respect, not assume who belongs where. When Angela tried to defend herself, Richard interrupted. Would you like to see the flight recordings? Every moment is documented. Witnesses began speaking up. A video of the incident went viral. The airline launched an investigation, apologizing to Carla and announcing a public denouncement of the discriminatory behavior. Angela was fired and company-wide diversity training was implemented. That evening, Richard admired his mother. You were remarkable today, he said. Just standing up for what's right, Carla smiled. It's all anyone can do. As Carla sat across from Richard, savoring the quiet of their dinner, she couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. What had begun as a small act of subtle discrimination had spiraled into a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up for what's right, no matter how uncomfortable the situation. In a world where prejudices are often hidden behind polite smiles and well-meaning gestures, Carla's grace had revealed the ugly truths that many were too willing to ignore. It wasn't just about the seat in business class or the mistreatment she faced. It was about dignity, respect, and the courage to speak up when others might choose silence. Angela's actions were a stark reminder that biases often linger in the smallest details. But so too was the reminder that justice, when pursued with patience and integrity, can take root in even the most unlikely of places. The day had proven to Carla that while change may be slow, it is always possible. With her son now standing at the helm of the airline, she knew the new chapter was beginning, one where respect, accountability, and fairness would not be just lofty ideals but real, tangible values. It was a victory, but more importantly, a moment of transformation, a turning point for everyone on that flight, and for the company that would now learn to truly value every passenger.